Thank you all for joining this morning for our Mental Resilience for Compassionate Leadership. My name is CJ. I am part of Directions Consulting. We provide coaching, training, and sometimes consulting services to help companies improve your performances through your people. So that's in general what we do. And on and off, we do online and offline activities like this one. And for this time, we are very honored and happy to invite Jamie, Mr. Jamie Craig, all the way from Australia to share with us what is it about mental resilience and why compassionate leadership and what these all means to us. And for the part of corporate leadership or corporate performance, how does this help businesses and companies achieve better results? So without further ado, can we put our hands together and welcome Mr. Jamie Craig?
Thank you, CJ. You're too kind. Thank you for coming today, everyone. I really appreciate your attendance and your interest in this topic. And thank you to CJ and everyone at Directions for inviting me to talk to you today about mental resilience and compassionate leadership. Okay. With nothing further to ado, let's continue. So a session overview. First, we'll be looking at what is compassionate leadership and how to become a compassionate leader. Like what are the skills and capacities that you need for that? What is mental resilience? And mental resilience for compassionate leadership. So showing the connection between these two topics. Now, about me, for about 30 years now, I've been working with people in one way or another, helping them to, find their strengths, overcome barriers and difficulties, and to achieve their goals. So basically, the premise of coaching across several different domains, from rock climbing instruction, outdoor education, youth work. I was a counselor, vocational trainer, and then I sort of put it all together and started my own company. And I guess my work has been targeting the development of the capacities which are beneath our skills. I came upon this idea when I was doing vocational training. We were sending people off to interviews which they didn't have much chance of doing well in, because we taught them the skills, but we didn't give them the capacities too. We didn't develop their capacities. Emotional intelligence, resilience, well-being. These things are really important for consistent performance. And it's important in any domain, corporate, academic, any kind of performance requires these deeper capacities. So I'm also a master trainer and developer of the 6C mental resilience system, which is a further iteration of some previous models. And I studied at Sydney University in the evidence-based coaching unit with the Faculty of Psychology and Human Resources and NLP coach. So I'd actually like to start by asking you a question. And also, I want to say, throughout this session, I will be, sharing a lot of information. Please don't see it as a lecture. A lot of you know me. I really welcome you to chime in and ask questions. I'd really love it if this was a discussion. It'd be far more interesting. So, is compassionate leadership important in the current post-pandemic time? I love saying post-pandemic, but what do you think? Is compassionate leadership important in the current post-pandemic time?
But just to let you know, if you want to, you can type, or if you want to, you can unmute and just share. So I just typed something. Great courage comes from great compassion. Anyone else? Right, Jeff says many employees have made life adjustments and now need to revert back. Right, yeah, pandemic life adjustments, and now we got what was life like in 2019?
That's right. Almost forgotten. It's so true, and it's difficult, and it's an emotional process, to make those adjustments. It's not just jumping through hoops. We have emotions, we have feelings, might even have a little bit of trauma, especially friends in some parts of the world that have had a very hard time during the pandemic.
Yeah, it's like we need to get used to getting stuck in traffic and
Yeah.
get used to flight delays. Oh man. Right. Kathy was saying that I think no one. Oh, yes. Yeah, we couldn't hear you, Kathy. Yes. So Kathy, you're saying that it's very important before, but the pandemic. Oh, even before the pandemic, it was important, but the
Yes.
pandemic made us realize its importance. Now it is important, but will things go back too quickly to business as usual? And life was toxic in 2019, and we want to go back to that toxic past. So we've got it is vital all the time. Lucia says to better understand and support each other. Stella says for people gradually paying much attention to themselves and their growth instead of tasks and money. Wow.
Yes.
Jason, someone, Rebecca, you want to say something?
Is that the ballet posture, is it?
Yes, no? Oh, guess not. Right, so Jason saying that I'm at the last part of my day in Toronto. Well, so I'm almost in bed, but decided to briefly listen. I don't know whether it's good for bedtime stories or not. Right. Larry, yeah, great attention to people management, not just business management, and how to support and motivate team members to face and take on new challenges. Very important for successful leaders today. Wow.
Really great. Just commenting on these comments. My personal opinion is I think this whole pandemic experience has deepened us and has made it more natural for us to have deeper conversations. We know ourselves better. And one of the big things that I've seen across many conversations is the realization that people need each other. The whole idea of the lone wolf is a bit last century now, collaboration, community, giving, receiving, kindness have become much more normalized in the present setting. Not everyone will necessarily agree with that, but it's something that I've noticed in my work. People finding much more importance and benefit from interaction with people. I think the lockdowns, have taught us all these lessons. Okay, look, thanks so much for your answers and responses there, guys. I appreciate it. I'll continue on. Thank you. Okay. So to have a thriving organizational culture and performance, for an organization to work really well and to have that good culture, to bring out the best of people, a fundamental requirement is psychological safety. So that people feel safe in the workplace to bring out their talent, to ask questions, to be vulnerable, to not know the answer to something. It's really important to have that safe environment. So, sorry, I just had to remove this box here because I can't see. Okay, yeah, so psychological safety. So it's an environment that encourages, recognizes, and rewards individuals for their contributions and ideas by making individuals feel safe when they're taking interpersonal risks. So speaking up and asking questions, the lack of confidence or the lack of safety can really hold down talent. Great ideas are not shared because people are afraid, or they're feeling too nervous or unsafe to even think at their best level, let alone share it. So psychological safety is really, really important for organizational performance. Also for the the interpersonal connections and the capacity to collaborate in a team really requires that safety. The ability to receive and give and receive feedback also, it's essential that there's an element of safety there, or enough safety to be able to do that. So psychological safety. So we're talking about things like empathy and sharing, productivity, self-care, confidence, having boundaries, being able to set boundaries, trust, respect, collaboration, being solution focused, not bogged down in problems. Having mental well-being, so feeling good in your mind, having mental clarity, being able to focus, not being distracted and suffering. Being open to feedback, having a sense of community in the workplace, supporting each other. It's fun to be around people. Just thriving, asking for help, kindness. The talent gets shared. This is just a very, very important point. Especially sometimes in some cultures also, where people don't feel they're able to speak up because the boss is present. They don't want to upset the boss by appearing talented. It can be a real problem. So encouraging that confidence to share talent is really important. Positivity and cohesion, team cohesion, people moving together, synergizing, supporting each other, working in the same direction. So these are things that can be gained by having psychological safety. So to have psychological safety, we need compassionate leaders. We need leaders who can set the barometer in the organization, that can role model empathy, role model kindness, role model vulnerability, role model making a mistake and admitting it, having that accountability. So leaders are ambassadors for culture, and if leaders can become very sentient and very self-aware and very open, then they can create that presence in the organization and permit that in the team. So compassionate leadership. So compassionate leadership, it emphasizes empathy and understanding and kindness towards other people without being too soft and ineffectual and not getting the work done. But in the course of getting the work done, being a human being and treating people properly, being aware of the needs and emotions of others and responding sensitively with support, being able to prioritize the well-being of people ahead of what needs to be done. Because if you're burning out your people, you're doing more harm than good by pushing them for too long, towards unrealistic or unsustainable goals. You can see this diagram here. It's got a pretty good matrix there. Number one, it's like caring avoidance. So letting empathy be a barrier to action. So too much softness, too much being too precious, basically. Number two, wise compassion. That's kind of the way to go, getting tough things done in a human way. Then you've got these kind of colder ones down the bottom there, ineffective indifference. So just lacking interest in the concerns of others, and putting results before people's well-being. It's a sure way to have a whole bunch of burnt out people on your team. So ultimately, compassionate leadership, it's about creating a culture of care and connection. People feel safe, they can bring out their best, they enjoy to come to work, they enjoy to work for and with the organization. And there's that feeling of belonging that encourages participation. So you can't just show up to work one day and be a compassionate leader. There's skills involved. There's things that you need to learn. So a compassionate leader needs these skills, needs to be able to do these things. So to be able to be empathetic towards people, know how to active listen, to really demonstrate that they're hearing and listening to what the person is saying. Showing kindness and compassion, being able to encourage and facilitate collaboration. Part of that is knowing when to step back also, and allowing other people to come forward and take the lead. Even when you think you know better, encouraging people just to have their learning experience so they can get better too. And also having integrity, keeping the promises that you make. Flexibility and adaptability, having a positive attitude. Now, this is not sunshine and butterflies. This is just generally having an optimistic bias in everything that you do, that you are positive and that you encourage people to think in a positive way. You may think it's more realistic to think negatively about something, but probably more better to be proactive in the positive direction as a general rule. Accountability. So if you make a mistake, owning up to it. As a leader, it's a fantastic thing to role model. And also when somebody does make a mistake, helping them to understand it and showing that they're not at risk, depending on the mistake, of course. So it's basically about having patience and a growth mindset with people. Coaching and mentoring skills, and also conflict resolution skills. So there's a lot of skills to being a compassionate leader. So it is having skills enough? Work's hard. I mean, a leader is a human being too. They might have trouble at home, trouble with their kids, a poor night's sleep, all kinds of life difficulties, just like all of us have. So there's another ingredient that's required, and that is the leader needs to have the capacity to be this compassionate leader at work. They need to have the personal strength to be able to bring that intention to work and to execute it as much as possible. Not about being perfect. It's just about doing it more often or most often, and learning as you go. So when I talk about personal capacities, I'm talking about things like emotional intelligence. So being able to sense what you're feeling yourself and being able to regulate that and manage it. Then also having a bit of an idea of what other people might be feeling and calibrating your communication so that you're matching where they're at. If they're obviously sad, you might want to approach them more sensitively. If they look like they're feeling fine, approaching them normally. But always keeping that eye open for the emotional condition of other people. And then there's the largest levels, the relationship management and political levels. But emotional intelligence is a fantastic professional capacity to have, and to be a compassionate leader, absolutely essential. To be aware of yourself and to have some sense of where others might be, what they might be feeling. Well-being also. So showing up to work most of the time, feeling good, looking well, being able to focus, having had a good night's sleep, eating well, having good social contact in your life, having some exercise, and overall exuding that kind of vitality. Now, not unrealistic pressures on anyone, but just generally bringing more of that to work is a good thing. So emotional intelligence and well-being both have something very important in common. They both completely depend on self-awareness. The first level of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. It's being aware of your own emotions, what's occurring inside you, and the next step is being able to manage that somehow. Okay, and learning those skills and practicing those skills, internalizing them, making them into an unconscious competence, so that that's just how you are. But well-being also depends on self-awareness. If we're not aware of our condition, we can't begin to manage it. If we're not aware that we're not eating properly, or that we're tired, or we haven't seen our friends for a while, or we haven't exercised enough, if we're not aware of it, we can't begin to take action on it and work on it and improve it. So self-awareness props up and supports, is a foundation of emotional intelligence and well-being. But self-awareness is also subject to stress. It also is vulnerable. I like to use the example that it's a little bit like Wi-Fi that goes in and out sometimes. So what we need is a further ingredient, and that is mental resilience. We need a deeper set of strengths which maintains our self-awareness more consistently, even in stressful situations. This is one of the great pluses of self-awareness, or the great benefits of mental resilience, is that it helps us go into situations with that awareness, so that we can maintain our emotional intelligence, we can maintain our well-being, we can perform at higher levels for longer.
Jamie, just hang on. There's a question here. How to improve emotional intelligence? As I think it's somehow born. So that was the question.
I'm sorry, that is what?
It's somehow born, as in you're either born with emotional intelligence or you're not.
Yeah, I actually don't know, and I think the truth of that is that we're all born with varying levels of capacities. We all have strengths, or less strong in certain areas. The main thing is that we can develop these things during our lifetime if we notice that we don't have enough, or there's a vulnerability in our set of strengths. So yeah, I'm not too knowledgeable about the genetic side of those things. There probably is some genetic aspect to it, but the most important fact and the useful fact is that we can develop these things if we notice that we're lacking at all. Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah.